You wake up slowly in the pale gray light of early morning. The air is damp, heavy, and smells faintly of smoke, mildew, and bodies. Your room is small, barely wider than your outstretched arms. The walls lean toward you, cracked and uneven. Above, a jagged hole in the roof lets in a weak shaft of sunlight. It falls across the straw, mat you call a bed, the rope frame sagging under years of use. You share this space with two others. One is still asleep, curled tight beneath a fraying blanket. The other is awake, coughing, a deep wet sound that echoes off the walls like an omen. You breathe in carefully, try not to think of sickness. In this city, disease is a shadow that never leaves. The building around you shifts with a low groan. These apartments, called insulae, rise higher than they should, 4, sometimes 5 stories tall. But the higher you climb, the weaker the walls become. Made from brick, clay, and wood, they stand only by habit and hope. One strong wind, one stray spark, and everything could collapse. The walls creak like tired bones. Your upstairs neighbor stomps heavy-footed, shaking dust from the ceiling onto your blanket. Every sound carries. Every cough, every argument, every whispered secret belongs to the entire block. Privacy here is a luxury for the rich. For you, there's only noise, crowding, and the slow decay of walls built too quickly. Outside, the city is already awake. The first sound is a rumble of wooden carts, their wheels groaning over the uneven stone streets. Then comes the shouting. Vendors cry out in voices sharpened by habit. Fishmongers, olive sellers, bread hawkers, each advertising their wares with practiced rhythm. The air is thick, smoke from cooking fires, the stench of refuse left from a night before, and the sour tang of the latrines nearby. A donkey brays like it is dying. Children shout, laugh, and cry. A man argues about taxes 2 floors below, his voice cutting through the morning like a knife. There is no quiet here, no soft beginning to the day. Only life, raw and relentless, pressing on all sides. Breakfast is simple, a bowl of pulse, porridge made from barley or millet, thin and bland. If you are lucky, a crust of bread to dip in sour wine. Meat is rare, a luxury you hear but seldom taste. Cheese, olives, beans, sometimes fish if you can afford it, but mostly it is grain, always grain. It fills your stomach, heavy but unsatisfying. The taste is flat, but hunger leaves no room for complaint. As you eat, you wonder if today you will have work, if the foreman will need another pair of hands to haul, to build, to dig. Work is survival. No work means no coin, and no coin means no bread. You step outside barefoot. The stones of the street are cold, slick with last night's spills. Liquids flow in shallow gutters. Wine, urine, oil, all blending together into a dark trickle. Beggars line the walls, hands outstretched. Children dart between carts, chasing each other through clouds of dust. The street is alive with voices, with smells, with movement. It is a tide, and you are carried with it. The buildings rise above you, leaning inwards, casting shadows that make the street feel like a canyon. You glance up, uneasy, imagining what might fall. Would brick or worse? Life here is a constant gamble, and the dice are rarely in your favor. The market is the heart of the city, a chaos of voices, colors, and smells. Olives piled in woven baskets, fish laid out on rough wooden boards, their eyes glassy in the morning sun, bread stacked in neat towers, baked at the public ovens. Everything is for sale, but nothing is free. You watch carefully, calculating the few coins in your pouch. Bread or beans, oil or salt. Each choice is survival. The vendors watch you back, sharp-eyed, ready to cheat the unwary. Around you, the crowd presses close. Traders, slaves, freedmen, soldiers on leave. The hum of the market is relentless. It drowns out thought, leaving only the rhythm of bargaining, buying, and moving on. Work today is hauling. Stones for a new bathhouse, heavy and rough. Your hands blister on the rope. Your back bends under the weight. The overseer shouts, his stick slapping against the wall for rhythm. Each load feels heavier than the last, but stopping is not an option. Around you, other men strain, their faces set in grim silence. You are all bound by the same truth. Strength is your only currency, and strength fades quickly. You lift, you sweat, you ache. The sun climbs higher, burning the dust into your skin. Hours pass, measured only by the number of loads carried and the pain in your shoulders. When nature calls, there is no privacy. You go to the public latrines, long stone benches lined with holes. Men sit shoulder to shoulder, speaking casually as if this is any other room. A gutter runs beneath, carrying waste away with water from the aqueducts. A sponge on a stick serves for cleaning, shared by all, rinsed only in a bucket of vinegar water. The smell is heavy, inescapable. Yet this place is also a meeting ground, where gossip flows as freely as the waste below. You listen to talk of taxes, of the emperor's latest decree, of rumors from distant provinces. You say little. Words here can be dangerous. Better to listen and to leave quickly. Night falls, but the city does not rest. The insula groans again as tenants return, climbing narrow stairways that creak beneath their weight. Inside, the air is thick with smoke from oil lamps, with the smell of bodies packed too close. Voices echo through the thin walls, arguments, laughter, weeping. Someone sings softly, a lullaby for a child who will not sleep. Your stomach growls, but there is little to eat. A crust of bread, a sip of sour wine. You lie back on your mat, staring at the ceiling. You think of tomorrow, of the work, of the endless weight of survival. Sleep comes slowly, restless and shallow, broken by the coughs and snores of your neighbors. You close your eyes, but you cannot escape the truth. In this city, every day is borrowed. Fire, collapse, disease, hunger. Anyone could take you before the week is done. You are 27, already older than many of your neighbors. To live here is not to thrive, but to endure. Yet as you drift into uneasy sleep, you realize that endurance itself is a kind of victory. The city lives because you do. Its walls rise on your labor. Its streets move with your footsteps. History remembers emperors and generals, but it is built on the backs of the forgotten. And tonight, in the insula, in the darkness, you are one of them. It's only mid-morning, and already the streets feel like they've been alive for hours. You weave through the crowd, dodging a cart stacked with amphorae and an old woman bent double beneath a bundle of firewood. Flies buzz in thick clouds around the fish stalls. The smell of rotting guts blends with fresh bread baking somewhere nearby, creating an aroma that's equal parts hunger and nausea. Beggars tug at your tunic hem, their eyes sunken, voices raw from pleading. A stray dog noses at a pile of refuse, then growls when a child tries to chase it away. Overhead, laundry lines sag between buildings, dripping water, or maybe something else, onto the passers-by below. Rome may be grand in stories, but here at street level, it's a battlefield of survival, and every step forward feels like its own small victory. You turn a corner, and for a moment, the horizon opens. In the distance, gleaming in the sun, you can see the edge of the Forum, the city's heart, where senators debate, magistrates rule, and statues stand tall in polished marble. It looks magnificent from here, like something carved by gods. But you know better. That world is not yours. You will never set foot beneath those arches, never argue in the shade of those colonnades. For you, the Forum might as well be another country, unreachable across the gulf of wealth and class. You admire for a heartbeat, then lower your eyes. Better to focus on the cobblestones before you, where a misstep could twist an ankle, or worse, draw the attention of someone with nothing to lose. Work today comes to the bathhouse, not the marble pools of the wealthy, but the steaming public halls where citizens come to wash, gossip, and scheme. You don't come here to bathe. You come to build. The foreman orders you to haul stone blocks, their weight dragging your arms down like anchors. Sweat burns your eyes as you stagger under the load, trying not to slip on the wet, muddy ground. Around you, men grunt and curse, their bodies bent under labor, their lives measured in scars and broken bones. The overseer paces nearby, whip in hand, snapping against wood as a warning. You don't dare slow down. Work is survival, and in Rome, survival always hurts. When the sun is highest, work halts. You sit on a broken step, bowl in hand. Lunch is simple. Pulse again, thicker this time, with a few beans floating like treasures in the murky broth. Someone shares olives, salty and shriveled. Another passes around a jug of sour wine. The tastes sharp and rough on your tongue. It burns going down, but it makes the food easier to swallow. You chew slowly, watching dust dance in the sunlight. Around you, men slump, silent, exhausted. Some joke half-heartedly. Most just eat. You look at their faces, lined, sunburned, worn down long before their years. You know you look the same. Food fills your belly, but it does little for the emptiness that lingers beneath. Afternoon in Rome is merciless. The sun bakes the stone streets until the heat rises in shimmering waves. Your tunic clings to your skin, heavy with sweat. Flies circle your head, relentless, landing on every patch of exposed flesh. You move slower now, your legs aching, your back stiff. The city itself seems to sag in the heat. Dogs collapse in patches of shade, tongues lolling. Children carry jugs of water, staggering beneath the weight, slopping half of it into the dust. Above, shutters close, curtains drawn tight against the glare. But you have no luxury to hide from the sun. The day is not done. The work is not done. And the city demands more from you, always more. Thirst drives you to the fountain. Water spills from carved stone mouths, clear and cold from the aqueducts that snake across the empire. The fountain is crowded, men, women, children, all jostling for a place at the stream. You kneel, cup your hands, and drink. The water tastes faintly of minerals, faintly of life. You splash your face, letting the coolness chase away the heat for a moment. Around you, voices rise, gossip, arguments, laughter. A woman washes clothes, pounding them against a stone. A boy fills jars for his family, straining to lift them. A dog dips its muzzle in, then shakes, spraying droplets across your arm. This is as close as you will come to bathing today. It is enough as you leave the fountain, noise erupts nearby. Two men shove each other in the street, voices slurred with drink. A crowd gathers, eager for distraction. The men swing wildly, fists cracking against jaws, bodies crashing into stalls. A basket of figs bursts open, scattering fruit into the dust. Children dart forward, scooping them up before they are trampled. The fight escalates. Someone draws a knife. The crowd cheers, hungry for blood. You edge away, careful not to draw notice. The city thrives on spectacle, on violence, but you want no part of it. In the distance, a pair of guards watch, unmoving. They will not intervene unless coin changes hands. Rome polices itself, and the weak always pay the price. Evening settles, but the market is still alive. Traders call out last offers, voices hoarse from a day of shouting. Their baskets are half empty. The best goods already gone. What remains is wilted greens, bruised fruit, fish beginning to stink. Smoke from cooking fires drifts above, carrying the sharp scent of onions and garlic. You walk through slowly, weighing the little coin left in your pouch. Bread will do, always bread. You buy a loaf, hard and blackened at the edges, but warm from the oven. The baker shoves it into your hands, already turning to the next customer. Around you, the crowd thins. Shadows deepen. The day winds down, but the city never truly sleeps. You return home, bread in hand. The insula looms above, leaning as if tired of standing. Inside, the stairway groans beneath your feet, each step threatening to give way. Your room is as you left it, small, dark, crowded. The others are already there, speaking quietly, voices low and tired. Someone coughs again, a deep, rattling sound. A baby wails down the hall, the cry thin and desperate. You tear the bread into pieces, share what little you can. It is not enough, but it is something. The oil lamp flickers, casting shadows across the crack walls. You lie down on your mat, bones aching, head heavy. Tomorrow will be the same. And the day after, survival here is routine, and routine is survival. Night deepens. Rome stretches before you, a city of lights and shadows. Thousands of lamps glow in windows. Thousands of voices murmur through thin walls. Smoke rises from hearths, curling into the starless sky. From a distance, it looks eternal, indestructible, a city destined to outlast empires. But you know the truth. Each insula leans on the next. Each life hangs by a thread. Fire, famine, sickness. and it could sweep through by morning. Still, Rome endures. And so do you. You close your eyes, listening to the sound of your neighbors, the coughs, the snores, the restless shifting. The city breathes with you, fragile yet unyielding. You sleep, and in your sleep, you survive another day in the underbelly of Rome. You stand at the basin and perform the ritual of the poor. It is not elegant. It is not private. It is necessary. You pour a scoop of water across your face and then, as if proving a point, you smear oil over every inch of your skin, arms, neck, cheeks, until you feel slick and slippery. The oil is cheap, heavy, and smudges the grime into new patterns. You dip the curved metal strigil into the water. It makes a small, hollow sound. Then you drag it along your skin. It hurts. It strips away more than oil. It strips away years of sweat, the sharp edges of dirt, the thin scabs of yesterday's calluses. The motion is brisk, almost animal. A neighbor coughs in the next room. A child squeals on the stair. You do not look up. There is no time for vanity. This is survival disguised as hygiene. You tuck the strigil back into a cloth, feeling oddly triumphant, like you have stolen a few clean minutes from the city itself. You tie your tunic, check the rope at your waist, and step out into a world that will test the grip of every knot you make. The landlord appears like a bad weather, inevitable, indifferent, always in the doorway counting his coin. He never looks you in the eye. He checks the ladder, not to mend it, but to remind you that it exists. Thin steps nailed to rotting posts, a vertical gamble you take every morning. He will cackle about repairs only when the roof starts leaking enough to be fashionable. You watch him go, pocketing the rent, and you feel the small, familiar rage that always fizzles out before it reaches your tongue. Bill collectors in a forum may threaten men with tribunals. Your landlord threatens you with evictions that never happen, because he knows you cannot pay to leave. So you climb. Each rung creaks like an accusation. Your neighbor below whistles tunelessly to cover the sound of a child vomiting. Above, you imagine the cracked tiles that will one day tumble down. For now, they simply loom, patient as debt. You mount the ladder with an old man's caution, palms rough, knees steady, and you step into the city's teeth that eye in the market. Hunger sharpens your senses into cunning. You keep your coin hidden under a strip of cloth, pressed against the inside of your tunic like contraband. Around you, life is a carousel of small crimes. A boy slips past a stall and lifts a loaf. Fingers practice, movements quick as a bird. The vendor turns, voice high with outrage. People shout. Some clap, some laugh, some frown and look away. Thievery here is a performance, half necessity, half bravado. If you'd asked the boy why he stole, he would have shrugged and said, "My baby cried." There are no heroic speeches, only pragmatic theft, justified by empty bellies and cold children. Sometimes the thief runs and vanishes. Sometimes he is caught. Then the crowd decides his fate. Coins clutched in fists, faces set, old resentments rising like steam. You keep moving. Your own loaf, purchased with your ration, feels heavier now, as if guilt has the weight of stone baked into its crust. Still, you keep walking, because in Rome the rules bend to the need that looks hungriest. Whispers follow you like mosquitoes. Rumor is a living thing here, and today it buzzes about sickness. Someone at the fountain said a man in the market is coughing black. A baker's wife took ill and will not rise. Words pass from mouth to mouth. Plague, fever, pestilence, like a coin flipped from palm to palm. You use a shrug off gossip, but fear makes everyone a listener. You think of the coughing neighbor in your room, how his breath rattles like crumpled parchment. You remember the shared sponge at the latrina, how 1,000 hands touched it before yours. Your hands itch. You wipe them on your tunic and tell yourself it's nothing. You press your fingertips to your throat, feeling for heat, for a quickness that would change everything. The city has always been dangerous, but sickness is a different kind of terror. Silent, invisible, democratic. It does not care for status or coin. It chooses without reason. For a moment you stand very still in a crowded alley, noticing how loud the world is and how thin the barriers between life and the rumor that kills it. You join the work gang, men bound together by necessity rather than kin. The overseer reads from a rumpled list and assigns tasks with the casual cruelty of a coin flipper. Today you are to lay pavement. Tomorrow, perhaps, you will haul water to a villa. The work is cyclical, like tide and tide again. Bones remember the rhythm of labor and the exact bend that screams pain tomorrow. There is little talk. The men who work beside you speak in gestures and short, economical phrases. They show each other scars like badges and laugh at the jokes that hurt less than silence. The overseer switch slices air now and then, an idle threat, a punctuation at the end of an order. You understand the code: move, lift, don't complain. Complaints are currency not accepted in this economy. You shoulder a barrow, feeling the weight pressed down through your spine to your knees. Every step is measured. Every breath is bargaining. Your hands are maps, inked by calluses, by the little grooves of rope, by the memory of stones pressed into skin. The sun rides higher, and you bend again, because that is what keeps bread on the table and breath in your chest. In a city of grinding needs, mercy is a small, startling thing. A baker's apprentice, cheeks flushed from the ovens, catches your eye and, without ceremony, slides a broken crumb into your hand. You hold it as if it were treasure. Around you, people rush and shout. A cart rattles past. No grand gestures, just a hand reaching across a churn. The crumb taste of crust and warmth and 100 small kindnesses you have almost forgotten. For a heartbeat, the day softens. You remember your mother's hands, the way she used to tuck a fig into a pocket for a hungry child. For a moment, the harsh lines of city blur. You swallow slowly, letting the bread go down like a prayer. Then the bell rings and life roars back. Work calls, debts demand. Still, that small mercy lingers like a light in a window, proof that even here, in the teeth of hardship, people sometimes offer what little they have. Dust brings old voices and newer fears. A drunken argument starts over a spilled cup. Insults bloom like dangerous flowers. The shoves come fast, hard, and the crowd closes in, curious, hungry for a spectacle that distracts from their own lives. A woman yells, a child cries, and someone throws a stone that misses its mark but finds reputation instead. You step aside, heart thudding like a trapped bird, feeling the air crackle with potential violence. The guards stand at the edge, their helmets catching firelight, faces unreadable. They will not move unless coin slips into their palm or someone falls badly enough to warrant attention. You remember nights when such scuffles spilled into worse. Broken bone, real blood, a life ended by a careless fist. You watch the scene with the practiced distance of someone who has seen too much. Fear makes you small, but you also know that in this packed city, survival sometimes demands a quiet courage, an ability to step back, to breathe, to let the moment pass without adding your own cry to the chorus. Back inside, you count coin with the care of a man defusing a bomb. The lamp is small, and its flame trembles as if the air itself were breathing hard. Your ledger, just a scrap of waxcloth with tally marks, records debts like tall, hungry teeth, rent, grain, the cost of a patch for the tunic. Each marking is a claim on tomorrow. You run your finger under a column, and imagine what life would be like if those marks were blank. Then you blink and the image dissolves. It is easier to sleep with chains you understand than with freedom you cannot afford. You fold your cloth tight, tuck the coin into the secret slit in your tunic, and whisper a prayer you do not remember learning. The chant is old and half-rusted, like a tool you use without thinking. You stare at the wavering flame until your eyes blur and the numbers swim like fish. Dreams come, but they taste like coins, cold and heavy and unlikely to be spent. Night collects bodies and breath in this room the way the city collects dust. You lie close to kin and strangers, shoulder to shoulder, sharing warmth in the terrible economy of sleep. The cough beside you is steady and close. You listen to its rhythm like a foreign language. A child stirs and settles again, murmuring a dream. Outside, footsteps pass, loud, soft, frequent. Inside, a blanket is folded and refolded like an old map. You think of the lucky few who sleep under tiled roofs, who wake to water that runs inside walls, who never smell chamber pots in the morning. Then you remember the way a lamp's light can reveal a face, and how a face can tell a story of labor and love and small betrayals. You breathe and count the minutes like beads. The city's noises rise and fall, a chorus, then slow. Sleep approaches like a reluctant ally, promising only a fraction of rest before dawn demands you back for more. At last, the city exhales. The crowds thin. The market's last songs fall silent. The embers in the oven glow low. You step outside for a moment, and the street is almost peaceful, like a wounded animal that has finally stopped flailing. The moon paints the insulae in silver, revealing cracks that the sun hides. You breathe the night and let it fill your lungs. For a few hours, danger recedes into the corners. The rats grow bolder, but you do not notice because sleep edges closer and the world feels softer. You think of tomorrow with a peculiar mixture of dread and stubborn hope that keeps you alive. You have survived another day in a city that neither knows nor cares the names of the people who mend its wheels. You have eaten, worked, traded, stolen, laughed, if quietly, and share a handful of crumbs with someone who needed them more. That small kindness circles back and rests in your chest like a warm stone. Maybe tomorrow will bring the same grind. Maybe it will bring something unexpected. A coin left by a stranger, a roof tile mended, a cough that fades. For now, you fold your hands, close your eyes, and let the fragile promise of sleep do what it can. Hold you for a little while, safe from a roar. Your morning begins with bread that could double as construction material. Hard, stale, yesterday's crust, softened only by dipping it in wine, so watered down it tastes like betrayal. The cup smells faintly of vinegar and resignation. You chew slowly, each bite a negotiation between your teeth and destiny. Maybe you find an olive, wrinkled but edible. Maybe a smear of garum, that glorious fish sauce that clings to your fingers long after you regret it. There is no coffee, no fruit, no honeyed cakes. Your breakfast has exactly one function: keep you from collapsing before noon. It succeeds, but barely. Around you, your neighbors argue about bread rations, about taxes, about the mysterious man who keeps sacrificing pigeons in the stairwell. You don't ask questions. The rule is simple. The less you know, the longer you live. You swallow the last bite, sip your sour wine, and call it nourishment. Congratulations. You are now officially fueled by disappointment. You prepare for the day by wrapping yourself in fabric that has suffered more than you. A ruffled tunic, itchy as nettles, clings stubbornly to your skin. A cloak patched so many times it's more prayer than garment drapes unevenly over your shoulder. You tie a rope belt, the only thing keeping your outfit from collapsing entirely. Underwear? Don't be ridiculous. That's a luxury for men with coin and dignity. Your left shoulder is forever bare because the fabric refuses to stay put. You glance at your reflection in a piece of polished bronze. You look like a man who lost an argument with sheep and then tried to pretend it was fashion. Citizens wear togas. Men of status wear fine linen. You are a walking cautionary tale. Still, fabric is fabric, and the city doesn't wait for you to look presentable. You tug the belt tight, mutter a half-hearted prayer for tuna, and step into a world that demands more than you have to give. The street greets you with an assault on the senses. Vendors shout about olives, figs, fish, and things you wouldn't eat even if you were starving. Musicians play instruments that sound like geese being strangled. Philosophers shout about the nature of truth, or possibly about cucumbers. Someone is always shouting about cucumbers. Carts rattle past, pulled by donkeys, their drivers swearing at everyone in sight. The air is thick with smells. Roasting meat, burning oil, human sweat, and something that might be sewage, but you're not entirely sure. You step carefully, because every puddle is a mystery. Rome has sewers. Yes, but not here. Here the streets clean themselves only when rain decides to help, which is never often enough. This chaos is not decoration. It is survival wrapped in noise. It is Rome, alive and unashamed, daring you to keep up. You walk carefully, eyes on the stones, when the sound of hooves erupts behind you. A cart barrels down the street, pulled by donkeys whose driver looks personally offended by your existence. There are no sidewalks. There are no traffic laws. Only instinct, prayer, and speed. You flatten yourself against the wall as the wheels scrape past your toes. The driver doesn't slow. He spits a curse, cracks his whip, and thunders on, leaving behind a trail of dust and offended pedestrians. Around you, others shake their heads, mutter about reckless drivers, and carry on. This is Rome's version of public transportation. Fast, loud, and murderous. You take a deep breath, heart pounding, and remind yourself that survival here is less about strength and more about the ability to dodge hose. You pass a temple with a devout lineup, offerings clutched in hand, flowers, coins, even small animals ready for sacrifice. A woman whispers to the priest, her voice cracked with desperation. A man bows low, forehead to marble, hoping the gods hear him louder than the crowd. The statue of Jupiter towers above, stern and distant, carved from stone that seems too polished for your world. You stop, glance up, and feel small. You have nothing to offer. No coins, no flowers, no goat to slaughter. You nod awkwardly, as though greeting a neighbor rather than a god. Jupiter stares back, silent, immovable. You suspect he wasn't listening anyway. So you keep moving, because gods may rule Olympus. But the streets of Rome are ruled by hunger, rent, and whoever yells the loudest. The fountain is the heart of the neighborhood, and it beats loudly. Women bend to fill jars, their tunics sticking to damp skin. Children splash in the shallow basin until someone yells and pulls them away. Men argue over whose turn it is to draw water, voices rising until fists threaten to follow. The spout, carved into the face of a lion, spits water in a thin, reluctant stream. Pigeons line the ledge, watching with bored eyes, ready to foul the water as soon as no one is looking. You fill your cup, sip carefully, and ignore the taste of stone and rust. Water here is a blessing and a gamble. Sometimes clean, sometimes dangerous. You drink anyway, because thirst has no patience for doubt. On the corner, a philosopher performs. His beard is tangled, his robe patched, his voice thunderous. He speaks of virtue, of reason, of the proper way to live. Some in the crowd nod thoughtfully, others roll their eyes. A few laugh outright. A butcher mutters that philosophy doesn't feed children. A young student argues back, quoting something he only half remembers. The philosopher grows louder, pointing at the sky, at the earth, at the crowd itself. To him, the world is a classroom, and everyone is a reluctant student. You pause, listen for a moment, then move on. Philosophy is fine, but bread is better. In Rome, wisdom is free. Food costs extra. Further down, music cuts through the noise. A man with a double pipe, cheeks puffed, fingers darting. The sound is strange, shrill, and yet somehow joyous. A child dances barefoot, spinning with arms wide. A few onlookers clap, others wince and cover their ears. The musician plays with his eyes closed, lost in the rhythm only he can hear. A small basket lies open at his feet, holding a single coin and a wilted figure. You stop, listen, and feel something stir, a reminder that even in this chaos, beauty sneaks through. Then the spell breaks as a cart rumbles past, drowning the melody in clatter. The musician keeps playing anyway, defiant, stubborn, and alive. Rome is a city of smells, and none of them good. Smoke from fires, sour wine spilled on stones, rotting fish in the gutter, human waste dumped from a chamber pot above. You duck instinctively as liquid splashes near your feet. The stench is constant, layered, inescapable. It clings to your tunic, to your hair, to your very skin. The rich may boast of perfumes and incense, but here on these streets, every breath is a challenge. You breathe shallowly, walk quickly, and remind yourself that your nose will go numb eventually. Or so you hope. You step onto the wider road, the artery of the city. Here the chaos multiplies. Carts, beggars, vendors, stray dogs, shouting guards, chanting priests. The insulae lean over the street like tired giants, their shadows long and crooked. Yet beyond the grime, beyond the mud, your eyes catch something. In the distance, marble gleams. An arch, white and proud, standing as proof that Rome can be both filthy and magnificent in the same breath. You stop, stare for a heartbeat, and then keep moving. Because no matter how bright the marble shines, your path remains here, on the stones worn down by 1,000 tired feet, just like yours. And the day has only just begun. If you're heading to work today, congratulations. That means you didn't starve yesterday. Work in Rome isn't about fulfillment or passion. It's survival in a tunic. Maybe you're hauling bricks for yet another temple. Maybe you're mixing mortar for an emperor's vanity project. Perhaps you're a porter, lugging amphory of wine upstairs at creek like a funeral dirge. Every step, every lift, is paid for in sweat and silence. If you're a slave, you don't even get coins for your pain. Just lashes if you falter, and replacement if you fall. You are not essential. You are a warm body. That's the entire contract. And yet you keep moving, because stillness is punished more than motion. Perhaps your job is worse. Perhaps you are a latrine attendant, the man with a rag and a stick, sweeping filth from marble benches while pretending your soul isn't leaving your body through your nostrils. You are paid in pity, in copper coins that vanish before you can even buy bread. Around you, men grunt, spit, curse, and laugh as though your work isn't the most degrading task in Rome. You wipe, you rinse, you repeat, and the city shrugs, because someone has to do it. Even misery needs maintenance. The hours crawl forward, and soon the sun is high. Rome's midday heat is a punishment the gods never bothered to soften. It presses on your back, clings to your tunic, turns the air into soup. There are no trees here, no shade, unless you flatten yourself into thin shadow of a leaning wall. Sweat drips, soaks your clothes, and stains your pride. The stones burn your feet if you've lost your sandals, which many have. You squint upward, but the sun doesn't care. Rome is hot, brutal, and utterly unbothered by your suffering. Lunch. Don't get excited. It's called paenium, which is Latin for disappointment reheated. Bread, always bread, maybe softened with a bit of cheese if fortune smiles. Dried fruit, if it hasn't rotted. A boiled egg, if your employer had a lucky night with dice. You sit on a cracked stone step and chew slowly. Across the street, a wealthy Roman reclines in a litter carried by for sweating men, shaded by silk. He eats grapes. You gnaw bread. You avoid eye contact. Rome thrives on these contrasts. 1 man dines, 10 men carry. That's the arithmetic of empire. The smell of fresh bread cuts through the sweat and smoke. You inhale deeply, tricked for a moment into believing life is good. Warm, golden loaves wait behind the counter, pulled steaming from the oven. But then you remember, bread is taxed. Bread is rationed. Bread is political. And even if you had coins, the best loaves are never for you. You sigh, step away, and continue chewing your stale ration. Hunger isn't about emptiness here. Hunger is about memory. Memory of what food should taste like. The day stretches on, an endless repetition of motion. You walk, you carry, you lift, you sweat, your back aches, your feet blister, your mind dulls. Around you, the same faces push through the same streets, all bent under invisible weights heavier than bricks. Rome runs not on glory, not on speeches, but on the daily grind of men and women too tired to complain. Every block is a chorus of survival, a harmony of sighs and sore muscles. And yet the city never stops. The stones demand your steps, and you give them. On your walk home, reality sets in. Your cousin is still sick, wheezing with the latest fashionable plague. Your landlord has raised the rent again, smiling as though you should thank him. And your water jar cracked last night, which means another day of hauling clay and cursing gods. You pass neighbors arguing with the building manager, their voices echoing up the stairwell. Promises are made, coins exchanged, nothing fixed. That's Rome. It bleeds you slowly, coin by coin, cough by cough, until you forget what he's ever felt like. At last, the day ends. You climb the staircase of your insulae carefully, because every step is a gamble. The wood is old, cracked, soft with rot. One wrong move, and you join the spirits of those who fell last week. The air grows heavier the higher you climb, thick with smoke and sweat and something sour you can't name. You pause on a landing, catch your breath, and then push on. Survival here is measured one creaking step at a time. You open your door. Darkness greets you, heavy and stale. The room smells faintly of boiling cabbage, though you own no cabbage. Someone is already asleep in your corner. You don't ask who they are. A tenant, a guest, a stranger paying a coin to your landlord. It doesn't matter. You lie down on your mat, close your eyes, and pray that tonight the ceiling stays above your head. Privacy is a myth here, so is rest. Sleep comes in fits, stolen between coughs, arguments, and the distant rumble of wagons. And so your Roman morning ends. Was it glorious? No. Was it dignified? Absolutely not. But you survived, and in Rome that counts. Tomorrow you'll wake again to shouting neighbors, creaking beams, hunger, and work. Tomorrow you'll dodge carts, scrape coins together, and chew bread like punishment. Tomorrow you'll live, and that's enough. Because Rome doesn't ask you to thrive. Rome asks you to endure. And somehow, despite everything you do, you lie back, stare at the cracked ceiling, and let the city's noise carry you toward sleep. The Romans called it ironaculum, a modest early meal for those who had to labor long days. For the wealthy, it was bread dipped in wine, cheese, olives, or fruit. For you, it's survival, a crust of dense, uneven barley bread, left over from yesterday, maybe yesterday's yesterday. Pulse steams in a rough clay bowl, thick, heavy, tasting faintly of earth and disappointment. There may be a drizzle of oil if fortune smiles, herbs if someone was thoughtful yesterday. You eat quickly, slowly, would only let your mind dwell on the flavor. Boiled dampness anchored in your stomach. A sip of puska, vinegar water, slightly sour, slightly medicinal, reminds you it's safer than fountain water. This is fuel, not pleasure. Fuel. Hunger is constant. Even after you eat, it clings like a shadow. Every bite is rationed, savored, and measured against the cost of tomorrow. Food disappears quickly, not into your belly alone, but into the demands of rent, taxes, and patronus. The luxury of variety doesn't exist here. Bread, pulse, occasional salted fish, sometimes garum-soaked scraps that carry more smell than flavor. Fruits arrive sporadically, often overripe, vegetables wilted and coarse. Your stomach adapts, learns to function on monotony. You chew slowly, not because it is pleasant, but because it is all you can do before the day sweeps you back into work, back into motion, back into survival. Water is a complicated affair. Rome's aqueducts feed fountains with legend-worthy streams. Yet when it reaches your district, cleanliness is a lottery. Lead pipes crack, tanks overflow, and the drainage channels carry all sort of filth from upstream. Garbage, urine, animal remains. You drink anyway, careful, vinegar in hand. Puska masks the taste and kills some bacteria, but not all. Every sip is a gamble. You ration what you can, pour the smallest amount into your clay cup, and remind yourself, survival is sometimes about discretion, not enjoyment. Every swallow tastes of both caution and relief. Meat is a luxury you almost never see. Perhaps a salted fish, preserved and pungent, barely recognizable as food, and yet eaten with reverence. Organ meat, bones, scraps the upper class has discarded. They are your feast, your sustenance. You eat every bite. Wasting anything is unthinkable. Protein, when it appears, tastes a necessity rather than enjoyment. Your stomach grumbles anyway. The city is full of abundance you will never touch. Yet you survive on these small gifts, grateful in a way one can be grateful for mere continuation. Fruit is rare and fleeting. Figs, bruised and soft, apples overripe or covered in dust. You inspect carefully. A bite of spoiled sweetness might be worth the risk. Children dart between your legs, laughing, screaming, picking scraps from the dirt. The vendor shouts, waving a withered branch in your direction. You buy one fig, savor it as though it were gold. It is small luxury, fleeting and precious, such as life in your Rome. Brief moments of grace hidden between hardship and the relentless rhythm of the streets. The streets form a symphony you can't escape. Donkeys bray, vendors scream over one another. Children chase each other barefoot, kicking stones. Smoke drifts from ovens, mingling with the ever-present scent of waste. Flies hover thick as rain. You step carefully, avoiding puddles that smell of history and urine. You inhale deeply, trying to locate a single scent of bread among the chaos. The city's orchestra plays on, indifferent to your hunger, your tired limbs, your fragile dignity. And still, you march forward, participating in a rhythm you cannot refuse. Work is endless. Haul sacks up narrow stairs. Mix mortar under the sun. Carry heavy amphory. Scrape the streets clean. Fetch water. Serve filth. Supervisors watch. Whips ready. Complaints are met with lashes. Collapse, and someone steps over you, claiming your blanket. Survival is not an achievement. It is expectation. You sweat, your tunic sticks, your sandals slap against stones. Your feet blister, your hands callous. You endure because movement is demanded, not optional. There is no glory, only the quiet pride of having survived another hour. The smell of bread is salvation. You line up at the bakery, handing over a ration or a coin, receiving in return a small, warm loaf, black and hard, barely edible, yet it feels like gold in your hands. You cradle it as you walk home, mindful of thieves, mindful of rats, mindful of hunger gnawing already. Bread sustains you. Not joy, not comfort, just survival. And that is enough for now. Enough to face the next hour, the next step, the next creaking floorboard in your insula. You climb the stairs slowly, loaf in hand, aware of the creaking wood beneath you. Every plank whispers warnings of collapse. Neighbors pass, some greet, some glare, others ignore you entirely. Children dart past, chasing a shadow, laughing. The smell of smoke, sweat, and fermented foods follows you. Your muscles ache from the day's labor, but still you ascend, step by careful step, knowing the top is merely another floor in a building built from hope, wood, and neglect. Night falls, heavy and fragrant with the smells of the city. You return to your mat, exhausted, loaf beside you. Someone coughs in a corner. Another snores faintly. The ceiling low enough to touch, walls damp, and the floor sticky beneath your feet. You lie down, cradle the bread, and close your eyes. Hunger waits, tomorrow waits, work waits. But for now, you survive. Sleep finds you in fits, wrapped in the muted chaos of the insula. The city continues beyond the walls, always moving, always breathing, always watching. And in your small corner, you are alive. You move through the market, eyes scanning for what others have discarded. Wilted leeks, bruised onions, turnips that survived the day's sun. Seasonal fruit, apples, figs, is already gone, picked over by those with coin. What remains is for you. Half-rotted dates, bundles of limp greens, wrapped in yesterday's gossip and grime. You inspect carefully. Is it edible? You hope. You buy what you can afford, clutching your copper coins like they hold your life itself. The market smells of sweat, smoke, and desperation. Every stall is a negotiation, every choice a gamble with your stomach. If hunger presses too hard, you seek street food. Small taverns and papani line the alleys. Warm meals sold for a handful of asses. A bowl of stewed lentils, infused with drippings or bone, sustains you for hours. Perhaps a skewer of heavily salted meat, suspiciously chewy, or a honey cake baked, so hard it requires soaking before swallowing. The air is thick with smoke, burned flour, and sweat. Clients argue. Fights break out. Danger is part of the meal, but warmth is worth it. You eat fast, chew slowly, savoring each bite because food here is not a luxury. It is survival. Most Romans don't cook at home. Kitchens are scarce in Insulae. Fire a constant danger. Cooking indoors risks everything. So you depend on others, bakers, street cooks, merchants. The price of survival is your reliance on their skills, their honesty, their patience with crowds. Grain, oil, and meat move through their hands before reaching yours. Every meal, every morsel, reminds you that you are not self-sufficient. You are part of a chain, one link among thousands, fragile and replaceable. Grain is the backbone of Rome's diet, and the government knows it. Enter the annona, the state grain distribution. Registered Roman males receive a small monthly allowance, enough to make bread for a few weeks. Not generous, not luxurious, just survival. If you are a woman, foreigner, or slave, you get nothing. Then you rely on scraps, leftover bread, or street food. You are careful with every handful of flour, every crumb of loaf. In the empire, abundance exists, but it is never evenly shared. Food is rarely fresh. Bread goes stale quickly. Pulse lingers in pots, slightly green from yesterday or last week. Flies buzz without mercy. Wasting anything is unthinkable. You scrape off mold, chew slowly, savoring what little flavor remains. Hunger fades into a dull pressure, a reminder that you are alive and moving. Food is both necessity and ritual, a constant negotiation with decay, scarcity, and luck. You eat just enough to continue. Rome never truly starves. Ships from Egypt, Sicily, North Africa arrive daily, laden with grain, oil, and wine. The empire feeds a capital like a mother tending her child. Yet your share is uncertain. You are not a citizen, not a landowner, perhaps not even officially registered. Survival depends on timing, luck, and favor. You observe the ships from afar, imagining abundance that is never yours. Still, you know the city functions, even if you are on the edge of its feast. If you are a slave or a freedman in service, meals depend on your master's whim. You might get stew, bread, or scraps from a main table, or nothing at all until someone remembers you exist. Your life is a shadow of theirs, your stomach echoing their choices. Feast days do not guarantee you pleasure. Sometimes the rich throw scraps into the streets. Religious festivals distribute bread and fish for the masses, but generosity is politics, not kindness. You take what comes, always aware of scarcity. By mid-morning, hunger has faded into a dull ache, a background rhythm of survival. You tie the cloth belt of your tunic tighter, securing your worn loaf. Work awaits. Rome doesn't pause. You move through streets bustling with laborers, merchants, and beggars. Sweat clings to your skin. Dust coats your shoulders, and the city hums around you. Hunger is a quiet companion, reminding you that survival is temporary, fragile, yet still within reach. Life as a plebeian begins in motion. Most of your peers work trades: builders, bakers, water carriers, cobblers, street sellers. Skilled artisans may be stonecutters or members of collegia, a guild offering some protection and recognition. For most, however, you are expendable muscle, hired by the day, paid by the hour, valued only for what you can lift, carry, or sweep. Schedules are dictated by demand, need, and the whims of the city. There is no comfort here, only purpose imposed by survival itself. The truth you carry is relentless. You know that each day brings work, hunger, sweat, and exhaustion. You know that the city demands everything and gives little. You know that even small rest is temporary, that food is fragile, and safety is a joke. Yet you rise, you tie your tunic, and you step into the streets. Because the empire does not wait. Rome grinds on indifferent, towering, magnificent, and merciless. And you are alive, which counts for more than glory. For now, you continue, foot by foot, hour by hour, day by day, surviving the belly of the city. You wake before dawn. Breakfast is a crust of stale bread or a spoonful of barley mush, barely enough to fuel your body. The streets are quiet, but the forum is already alive with men hoping for work. Hundreds gather, competing for scraps of labor. Some stronger, some with tools, some luckier. You wait, tense, knowing that if no one hires you, hunger will find you tomorrow. When the call comes, you move with silent urgency, hauling bricks, carrying mortar, dragging stone across a construction site that is never finished. Rome is always being built. Your sweat waters the city. Your muscles remember every footstep, every lift, every shove. Scaffold sway, sun burns down your neck, bricks press into your hands. The overseer's stick hovers, a warning and a promise. One misstep and you fall. No safety net, no aid. Only the nod of acknowledgement before another takes your place. You don't slow down. You don't ask questions. Every motion is survival. Every breath a chance to avoid injury or worse. The city's grandeur rises on your shoulders while your body bends under the weight of necessity, unseen, unacknowledged, essential only in the work it produces. If construction eludes you, you might end up in the tanneries. Animal hides fermenting in urine, and dung greet you long before the site is in view. Kneeling in vats, hands bare, stirring with effort and resignation, you inhale the stench that will cling for days. Skin prickles, lungs ache, but becomes normal. Survival demands persistence. Sweat mixes with stench. Every hour spent here is a coin earned, a meal secured. You adapt because you must. Your senses dull. Your body memorizes discomfort. and tomorrow you will do it again. Your insulae is a fragile fortress, a fire trap of wood, brick, and neglect. Rent is due, miss a payment, and eviction is immediate. 5 eager replacements stand ready outside your door. The building creaks, rats dart through gaps, and mold coats the walls. Safety is fiction. Comfort is a joke. Survival is measured by copper coins handed over an exact count. You labor, scrape, haul, endure, all to keep a roof, however unsafe, above your head. No mercy exists, only the relentless rhythm of necessity. Perhaps you are a slave. The rules change, but the suffering does not. Your labor belongs to another. Before sunrise, you fetch water, clean floors, prepare meals you will never taste. Young, educated. Perhaps you read aloud to children or teach basic lessons, but one mistake invites punishment. A word too loud, a gesture too slow, and the whip is real. Life is measured in obedience. Property, not personhood. You exist as muscle, skill, and endurance, and even then, barely. Some slaves toil outside the city on latifundia, enormous estates feeding Rome's insatiable hunger. You rise with the sun. You plow, plant, harvest. Sweat pours. Skin burns. Limbs ache. No respite exists. The overseer is indifferent. Chains punish the slow. Whips punish the defiant. Rebellion means crucifixion. Public for all to see. Skilled labor may save you from certain tasks, but not from fear. Every day, your body is property, measured by output, scarred by necessity. Even skill offers no sanctuary. Stone carving, pottery, weaving, tasks requiring care and patience, still expose you to the overseer's discipline. One error, one hesitation, one slip, and the whip is immediate. The blood stains a different floor, but the pain is the same. The work is precise, endless, exacting, and terrifying. Your mind must focus, your body must obey, and your spirit adapts to fear as normal. Survival is no longer about strength. It is about obedience and endurance. If you are a woman, slave, or free, labor is different but no less grueling. You grind grain with a heavy stone hand mill, turning the quern hour after hour. Arms ache, shoulders burn, and your back protests. Meals are prepared, children cared for, textiles woven, water carried. Work is constant, relentless. Recognition is scarce. Pain is familiar. Your body becomes a tool, shaping survival, marking hours by exertion, and measuring existence in aches and fatigue. Midday is merciless. Sun blisters, sweat streams, and shadows shrink. You labor as the city moves around you, unaware of the lives it consumes. The overseer's stick hovers like a silent predator. You lift, carry, bend, push, pull, always measured by endurance, never by reward. Fatigue is constant. Hunger gnaws. The world continues as if your pain is invisible. You persist because stopping is death. You persist because the city demands it. At last, the day ends, or at least the work shifts. You return to your insula, body raw, muscles screaming, lungs thick with dust and stench. The streets quiet slightly, but the city never sleeps. Families argue, fires smolder, rats scuttle. You collapse onto your mat, grateful for small space, small warmth. Hunger remains, aches persist, but for a moment, survival is enough. You rest, you breathe. Tomorrow, the sun will rise and the city will demand again. For now, the day is done barely, but you endure. You wake, and the chores begin again. Bread to bake, clothes to wash, water to fetch. Fires to tend, floors to sweep, holes to patch, textiles to weave. Every movement is measured, necessary, unending. If you are poor, the streets may also demand your labor. You sell vegetables, small goods, or your services as a wet nurse. Survival shapes your day. Each task blends into the next. There is no pause. Your body moves on instinct, your mind on autopilot. Sweat and fatigue coat every hour, every breath, every step. Sometimes survival requires desperation. Prostitution is legal, taxed, and stripped of glamour. You offer your body because hunger is louder than shame. Toilets are absent, kitchens scarce, and alleyways double as workspaces. Fires break out unexpectedly. Stairs collapse without warning. Children cry not only from hunger, but fear. Every step is a balance between risk and necessity. Life expectancy is low. Infant mortality is high. Every day is a gamble with fate. Above you, the city thrives without noticing you. Senators debate. Aristocrats feast on stuffed dormice and honey dates, while the streets below pulse with unseen labor. Your work is invisible, yet indispensable. Aqueducts flow, grain ships unload, streets are swept, fires are extinguished, all because of hands like yours. The world you build is ignored, yet it is everything. You are the quiet foundation of an empire. Sometimes monotony is shattered, not by celebration, but disaster. Fires ignite, stairs collapse. You carry children, pots, life itself on your back. Praying the flames do not reach your floor. Screams fill the alleyways. Chaos reigns. The rich watch from their terraces. There are no fire escapes, no ladders that reach your world. You adapt. You endure. You survive again because stopping is not an option. Hunger sometimes ignites rebellion. Bread runs late. Grain is moldy and tempers flare. You join the crowd in the forum, demanding your portion. The city responds with force. Batons, shields, blood in the streets. You are dispersed, unheard, ignored. Hunger waits. It never forgets. The empire does not care. Yet still you return to your work, because survival is non-negotiable, and hope is the only tool you own. Filth is constant. Latrines overflow. The Tiber, your drinking water, doubles as sewer and washing source. Parasites thrive. Illness spreads silently. Fever, chills, a child coughing at night. There are no doctors for your kind. Apothecaries ignore you. Your tools are rest, prayers, and hope. Hope rarely comes. And yet, your labor does not stop. Disease is a background rhythm, a persistent threat, but survival demands movement. You endure. You persevere. Your labor is the pulse of the empire. Bread is baked. Streets are cleared, water flows, fires managed. You are invisible yet essential. Rome's grandeur rests on your back. Every brick laid, every pot washed, every child fed or soothed, every meal stolen from hunger is a contribution unseen. You labor not for glory, not for status, not for fulfillment. You labor to survive. You labor to exist. You labor because the city will not stop for you. The midday sun climbs higher. Your chores are only half done. Water must be carried again. Hearths stoked. Floors swept. Waste hauled away. Hands blister. Fingers cramp. Feet ache inside sandals barely holding together. Your stomach growls. There is no one to relieve you. No pause. No mercy. The city continues. Time does not stop for your fatigue. Sweat drips. Breath quickens. Yet you continue because stopping is impossible. Every day, survival consumes every ounce of your energy. Bread is baked. Clothes washed. Fires tended. Children clamor for attention while hunger whispers threats. Life is unrelenting. You persist because ceasing means disappearance, erasure, starvation. The city does not pause for your suffering. It never will. And yet, you continue. Every step, every task, every ounce of strength is survival incarnate. At last, the day slows. Tasks are unfinished. Body aches, hands raw, spirit frayed. Yet you lie down on a straw mat, grateful for a small space, a small reprieve. Hunger remains. Fatigue persists. Disease waits. Tomorrow will demand the same, perhaps more. But for now, survival is enough. You close your eyes, inhaling the smells of the alley, the insula, the city that depends on your sweat and toil. You are alive. That is victory, however small, in ancient Rome. The climb begins. Each step creaks like a warning. The insula sways slightly with every footfall, a fragile tower of wood, clay, and hope. You ascend carefully, knowing a misstep could mean a tumble to your death, or at least broken bones. Higher floors are reserved for those who cannot afford sturdier homes. Here, air is thin, ceilings low, and rats have claimed dominion over corners and cracks. Sunlight rarely touches your room. You hope only that the walls hold until nightfall. Your room is shared. Family, livestock, and opportunistic creatures all coexist in a space smaller than a modern bathroom. Mud brick walls separate you from neighbors, a curtain for a door. Luxury is a thin strip of cloth. There is no plumbing. Every item is precious. Blankets, a bowl, maybe a small idol of household gods. Firelight flickers from a cooking lamp. Inches from beams that could ignite with a single spark. Your life is a delicate balance between warmth and disaster. Fire is both servant and threat. Cooking, heating, light, all require flames inches from dry, fragile beams. One gust of wind, one clumsy elbow, an entire block could ignite. The vigilas exist, but they are underpaid, overworked, and often demand bribes to act. Failure to pay means the firefighters let your home burn, calling it enforcement. You live in fear of smoke. Every sniff of air before sleep is a test. Dinner next door or the beginning of the end. Your belongings are always packed for flight. A blanket, a bowl, maybe a Panades idol, and whatever else can be carried in a hurry. There is no storage, only survival. Every night is a rehearsal for evacuation. Every sound, a shout, a crash, a cartwheel, triggers awareness. Safety is relative. The city is alive and dangerous. You sleep lightly, muscles tense, senses sharp, hoping the insula lasts until dawn. Rome never sleeps. Wheels grind on cobblestones. Vendors shout. Drunks sing. Lovers argue. Dogs bark. Someone plays a flute poorly at all hours. Privacy is a fantasy. You hear everything. In return, your neighbors hear you. Every argument, every cough, every gastrointestinal misfortune. Loneliness is rare, but so is peace. You learn to exist in chaos, finding rhythm in relentless noise, sleeping in fragments between disturbances. Dozens of families cram into spaces meant for a few. Children cry, adults bicker, and old ones mutter prayers in shadow corners. Some sleep upright against walls, like human coat racks. Floors creak under weight. Every breath is shared. The air is thick with smoke, dust, and the scent of unwashed bodies. You become accustomed to the press of life around you, learning to breathe between the chaos. When rain falls, the roof leaks. Water drips onto mats, onto the children, onto whatever belongings you've managed to protect. You improvise pots, buckets, woven mats, but the damp is relentless. Your body aches more. You shiver. Cold mixes with exhaustion, yet sleep still calls. Survival is improvisation. Every drop of water a test of ingenuity. Every night a challenge to endure until morning. Night demands vigilance. Children sleep fitfully. Animals stir. Neighbors snore, cough, argue. Fires flicker. Every sound might be danger, collapse, theft, or a sudden blaze. You lie awake, listening, heart pounding, praying the gods notice your endurance. Sleep is fragmented, a luxury measured in minutes. Yet you persist. Survival requires awareness, anticipation, and the faint hope that the night will pass unscathed. In darkness, reflection creeps in. You are small in the empire's shadow. Senators debate rich feast, streets bustle, and you exist in crowded obscurity. Your labor is invisible but vital. Every loaf baked, every floor swept, every child protected, every drop of water carried. It sustains the city. You are forgotten by history, but essential in life. Survival is the measure of achievement. You endure because you must. You endure because there is no other choice. And yet, the sun will rise again. Tomorrow, the streets will call, the markets will bustle, the insulae will creak under weight and wind. You will wake, weary, hungry, resilient. The cycle continues. This is ancient Rome for the poor, the laborers, the slaves, the overlooked. No glory, no honor, just survival, persistence, and the unbroken rhythm of life. You close your eyes one last time tonight, knowing that the city will demand again, and you will endure. Again, the insula leaks even when it's not raining. Water trickles down the walls, pooling on the floor, feeding mold that grows behind your straw mat. Floorboards creak. Walls shift in the wind. You develop the uncanny skill of waking moments before a staircase collapses beneath a neighbor. Here, collapse is inevitable. Timing is everything. Pests abound. Rats and mice scurry through your pantry, leaving tiny reminders of their existence. Flies hover over food. Mosquitoes breed in stagnant drainage. Bed bugs bite relentlessly. Yet, you survive a V despite chaos. You learn the rhythm. Collapsing staircases are navigated like an acrobat. Wet laundry sways on lines over the alley, hoping to dry before thieves intervene. Water is carried up, waste sent down. Each movement is calculated. The insula is not a sanctuary. It is a holding pen between disasters. Fires, floods, famine, and violence have all passed through here. And yet it stands. Imperfect, teetering, but standing, and that is enough. There are moments of unexpected humanity. A neighbor offers stale bread. A child tugs your sleeve to show a dead bird. Across the hall, a woman sings while stirring her lentils. For a fleeting second, pride flickers. You all survive the same cage together, facing storms, pests, and fire. Life is hard, but shared. The insula, for all its flaws, is home. Rome is vast, over 1 million strong. Rich citizens live in marble palaces with mosaic floors and private baths. You know their lives only by rumor. For you, the insula is everything. Your bed, your shelter, your prison. And if it collapses tomorrow, no one mourns. Rubble is cleared. A new insula rises faster, cheaper, and more dangerous. The cycle continues. You will find a corner in that new box and begin again. The poor adapt. They huddle together in the dark, dodging embers and curses, praying the next collapse does not start with them. If flames come anyway, you grab your blanket, whisper a prayer to the household gods, and run. Survival requires vigilance. Every day is a balance between danger and endurance. Every night a rehearsal for disaster. Thirst drives you to the nearest public fountain. Clean water is a luxury. You rely on aqueducts, complex and vulnerable, carrying life from distant springs. Any failure, and your day collapses. The aqueducts bring millions of gallons daily, enough for baths, fountains, latrines, and homes. Yet only the rich enjoy indoor plumbing. You wait in line, jug in hand, hoping pressure remains and the water flows. Water is generally clean, sourced from springs. Yet clean is relative. Near the end of the system, you drink backwash from baths, toilets, and industry. Occasional sabotage, illegal taps, or sediment make it tepid, mineral-heavy, with a hint of lead. Long-term effects unknown. Your thoughts may feel foggy, your coordination off. Not the gods, just the plumbing. Nature calls. Private toilets are rare. Apartment dwellers use pots or chamber pots, dumping content out windows or into gutters. The cloaca maxima runs below, but much waste bakes in the sun. Public latrines exist, long benches with holes overflowing water, no partitions. Shoulder to shoulder with strangers, you participate in Rome's version of civic solidarity. Toilet paper? Non-existent. Instead, a theorium, communal sponge on a stick in vinegar water, does the job. Even in discomfort, shared experience defines life. Lines of fountains, communal toilets, alleyways thick with noise, sweat, and dust. They bind the poor together. You survive because you adapt, because you endure, and because every day, Rome moves forward, indifferent to your suffering. Your struggles are invisible, yet essential to the city's pulse. Night falls, and the cycle continues. The insula creaks, pests scuttle, fires flicker, and yet you exist. Survival is your mastery. The building may leak, collapse, or burn, but you adapt. In ancient Rome, the poor endure. Life is not glamorous, not heroic, but relentless, constant, and necessary. And tomorrow, the city will demand it all again, and you will rise to meet it. The public bathhouse is your next stop, a mix of spa, gym, social club, and germ incubator. There are over 800 bath complexes in Rome, some grand, like the baths of Caracalla, others modest neighborhood retreats. You strip, deposit your clothes, good luck getting them back, and step inside. The caldarium, the hot room, hits first. Heated floors, roaring fires, oppressive humidity. You sweat, not just from heat, but from the realization that survival in Rome is a full-body experience. Soap is a stranger here. You rub olive oil on your skin, then scrape it off with a curved metal striggle. Dirt, oil, and dignity slide away together. Wealthy Romans may have slaves to assist. You do it alone, avoiding eye contact with a senator nearby. Bathhouses are social hubs, where deals are struck, gossip is traded, and diseases spread effortlessly. Every movement churns a warm microbial soup. Skin infections, eye disease, intestinal worms. It's all included in the price of admission. After sweating your soul out in the caldarium, you move to the tepidarium to cool slightly, then to the frigidarium. A cold plunge, if you dare, shocks the system. The water hasn't been drained between users. It's a swirling cocktail of hundreds of bodies, oils, and microbes. Yet, despite the risks, this is one of the cleanest places in Rome. Outside, personal hygiene is a gamble, and baths are a rare indulgence, not a daily ritual. Outside the bathhouse, cleanliness is optional. You might wash your face daily, your feet more often, but bathing is social, not hygienic. Perfumes and oils mask odors. Lice and fleas are tolerated. Germ theory is centuries away. Survival matters more than bacteria. Yet, Rome's aqueducts bring water to fountains, latrines, and baths. They sustain life, but their fragility is a constant threat. Rome's aqueducts are engineering marvels, supplying over 200 million gallons of water daily. They power baths, grain mills, fountains, and elite toilets. But earthquakes, floods, or simple disrepair can halt entire sections. When they fail, civilization teeters. Public baths dry up, sewers stop flowing, fountains run empty. Riots over water shortages are real. Access to clean water isn't a luxury, it's survival. If the aqueduct fails, disease follows. Cholera, typhoid, dysentery, slow. Filthy deaths await the poor. You can't afford private systems or servants to boil water. Even minor stomach bugs can spiral into fatal dehydration. By ancient standards, Rome is remarkably clean, but density breeds illness. The largest city in the ancient world is also the most dangerous for the vulnerable. Despite the risks, Rome is cleaner than most medieval capitals will ever be. Public sanitation, latrines, baths, and street cleaning exist. Yet for the lower classes, survival is never guaranteed. Every sip of water, every bath, every attempt at hygiene is a calculated risk. Clean is relative, and today, it means a difference between life and slow, painful death. The bathhouse is a paradox. It's the cleanest space you'll see all day, yet also a petri dish of infection. Hundreds of unwashed bodies stir the water. Minor cuts, eye irritations, parasites. They spread easily, yet everyone endures it, because nothing else in Rome provides the same combination of warmth, community, and temporary relief from grime. Bathhouses are also social arenas. Deals are struck, stories are exchanged, and rivalries simmer. The poor rub shoulders with wealthier citizens who flaunt status, yet share the same microbial soup. Survival in Rome isn't just physical, it's social. Navigation of relationships, avoidance of insults, and silent endurance are as crucial as scraping off your olive oil. At last, you step out, damp, slightly cleaner, but acutely aware that hygiene is fragile, temporary. Outside, streets wait, full of smells, crowds, and danger. Your insulae waits, leaky, swarming with pests, and ready collapse. But for now, you have survived. You participated in one of Rome's most civilized systems, even if only briefly. Water, heat, and oil may not cure the city's perils, but they give you a moment of resilience, a small victory in a brutal world. You step into the bathhouse, a palace of steam, stone, and social hierarchy. Over 800 bathhouses exist across Rome, from neighborhood baths to monumental complexes, like the baths of Caracalla. These are marvels of architecture, domes, mosaics, marble statues, but you're not here for beauty. You're here to survive your own filth. Paying a single quadrans to enter a world where the rich and powerful claim the prime pools while you fight for space in a corner. First stop, the apodyterium, the changing room. No private lockers exist. Lose your tunic or sandals, and you'll walk home barefoot and humiliated. Clothes are frequently stolen, and the boys assigned to watch them often look the other way. Or worse, help themselves. Every step here is a gamble. Every coin counts. You clutch your belongings, wary of both petty thieves and careless neighbors. Next is a palestra, the exercise yard. Romans loved to sweat before bathing. Men wrestle, lift stone weights, throw javelins, or box with metal-studded gloves called cestus. For the lower classes, it's less sport, more survival. Prove your strength. Protect your space. You do a few laps, some squats, and move on. Your muscles are sore from hauling amphorae all morning. There's no glory here, only endurance. Inside, you follow the ritual. Frigidarium, tepidarium, caldarium. Cold water to shock, warm to relax, steam to suffocate slightly. There's no soap. You smear olive oil on your skin, then scrape it off with a curved bronze strigil, removing sweat, dirt, and several layers of dignity. Some laborers help each other. Some struggle alone. Privacy is non-existent. Sound echoes, smell clings. This is cleanliness in Rome, hard-earned, communal, temporary. The calidarium is oppressive. Heat presses down. Steam wraps around your body. Every scrape of your strigil removes grime. And a little bit of hope. The room vibrates with a chorus of groans, gossip, and laughter. You are just one body among hundreds, sharing space, air and water that hasn't been changed in hours. Yet somehow, this is still better than your insula. Bathhouses are social theaters. Senators lounge in marble pools, gossiping. Laborers scrub themselves in corners, hoping no one important notices their street crime. Hierarchies follow you inside. You navigate carefully, avoiding insults, accidental eye contact, or theft. Survival here is social as well as physical. The water isn't sterile. Hundreds of unwashed bodies stir it constantly. Skin infections, eye irritations, intestinal parasites. It's all there and everyone tolerates it. Bathing in Rome is a calculated risk. You endure because hygiene, temporary though it may be, matters. Every scrape of oil and dirt is a small victory against filth. Noise is constant. Laughter, gossip, grunts, splashes, and arguments ricochet off marble walls. Steam clouds vision. The smell of oil, sweat, and mildew mixes into a pungent fog. You breathe, scrape, and move with care. There is no privacy, but there is rhythm, a ritual that countless Romans follow daily. Bathing isn't luxury, it's survival. You leave a bit cleaner, slightly cooler, but your skin is still raw, your hair greasy. It's not rejuvenation, it's endurance. You've paid for brief relief from the grime of insular life, the dust of streets, and the oppressive heat. One more ritual, one more battle against filth won for now. Finally, you step out. Steam clings to your skin. Streets await, crowded, smelly, and unforgiving. Your insula is still there, leaking, infested, and ready to collapse. But for a moment, you are slightly cleaner, slightly stronger, and alive. In Rome, that counts as victory. Hygiene is never permanent, but survival is, and right now that's all that matters. Beneath the mosaic floors, fires rage in a HIPPIC system, an ingenious underfloor heating network. Slaves tend these fires all day, shoveling wood in suffocating rooms with no light or fresh air. Some die from heat exhaustion, but their sacrifice keeps the caldarium warm. The cost of Roman cleanliness is human, and often invisible. The water is changed rarely. Filtration is centuries away. You bathe in a communal soup of skin cells, hair oil, and whatever floated off the last 100 bathers. Someone bleeds in the corner? That's just added to the mix. Hygiene here is relative, a gamble with disease. But it's better than your insula. Bathhouses aren't just for cleaning. They're civic stages. News spreads. Whispers about the emperor. Brags about gambling winnings, political schemes, or discreet services happen here. For a few minutes, rich and poor alike share steam and space, a rare glimpse of equality in a city built on hierarchy. Bodies pressed together in humid rooms create perfect breeding grounds for illness. Skin infections, fevers, lice, and intestinal parasites thrive here. A misstep on slick marble could send you face first into a pool of strangers. Survival isn't guaranteed, but the ritual continues anyway. After the caldarium comes the optional oil massage. Plebeians usually skip this, but today is payday. A low-ranking attendant rubs olive oil into your limbs. The oil stings cuts from work, raw patches from walking barefoot. But the sensation feels like luxury. It's temporary, fleeting, and almost worth it. You dry with a scrap of wool. Linen is too costly. Your tunic miraculously waits for you on the hook. You dress, damp with sweat, the oil glistening faintly on your shoulders. Outside, the sun and the streets reclaim you. Dust, dung, and fish smells cling to everything. Cleanliness is temporary. Bathing in Rome is more about appearance than hygiene. To be dirty is to be invisible. To leave the bath, hair damp and skin shiny, is to briefly rise above your station. Its participation, ritual, and performance, all wrapped in steam and oil. For women, bathing is more complicated. Some at separate hours or buildings. Some bathe at home in cramped quarters with rainwater. Social scrutiny and hierarchy dictated access. Cleanliness, privacy, and dignity were all conditional privileges. For enslaved women, bathing could be public and humiliating. Mistresses or overseers watched closely, enforcing rules, often with cruelty. Privacy was a luxury they could not afford. Clean bodies existed, but freedom and respect did not. Finally, you step outside, briefly renewed. The streets await, unyielding, filthy, and hot. Within minutes, you are sweating again. The bath's relief is fleeting. In ancient Rome, cleanliness is fleeting. Survival is constant, and every day requires negotiation with filth, heat, and human density. For the wealthy, a balneum, a private bath inside a villa, ensured you never mix with the masses, heated by personal hypocaust, scented with imported oils from Arabia or Egypt, and attended by silent slaves. It was comfort and cleanliness at will. For the rest of Rome, laborers, bakers, couriers, the public bath was a place of renewal, exhaustion, gossip, and risk. You didn't go to be healed, just to maintain the fragile appearance of humanity in a city that treats it as a fleeting luxury. The bath is not escape. It is a pause from heat, stink, fear, and endless labor. A few minutes of semi-clean respite before stepping back into the furnace of Roman life. And with that fleeting relief, you step back into the streets. Your feet ache. Your skin is raw. Tomorrow, if you're lucky, you'll do it all again. Today, however, survival continues. And survival means food. Not the banquets of emperors with figs and honey, peacock fans, and servants. You are a plebeian, working in a cramped insula where breakfast is about calories, not indulgence. The table is whatever flat surface you can find that isn't covered in soot bugs or yesterday's crumbs. You eat with your hands. Forks are centuries away. Knives, if you have one, are mostly for cutting bread or defending your meal from rats. Hunger trumps etiquette. Your diet centers on grain, specifically far spelt, boiled into pulse, a bland, ancient Roman oatmeal without sugar, milk, or flavor. Salted if lucky, drizzled with garum, fermented fish innards. If extremely lucky, the ketchup of the ancient world, pungent and essential. Bread, when available, is dense and coarse, made from stone ground flour that might include actual bits of stone. Every bite risks chipping a tooth. Still, it is sustenance, essential for survival, especially if you labor in the forum or docks. Rome instituted the annona, a grain dole, distributing food to the poor. If you're on the list, you get rations. If not, you rely on skill, patronage, or luck. Without it, starvation is imminent. Vegetables are seasonal. Cabbage, lentils, chickpeas, leeks. You stew them if olive oil or herbs are available. Variety is rare. Repetition is constant. Meat? That is for the rich, the powerful, the lucky. For you, survival is pulse, bread, and seasonal greens, repeated endlessly until famine interrupts all. Meat is expensive when it reaches your table. It's often from religious festivals, public feasts, or butcher offcuts. Organ meats, liver, lungs, trotters, intestines are common. Chew fast, swallow faster. Spoilage is constant. The miscellum, the market, is chaotic, loud, and fly-covered. Fish, fruit, wine, beans, nuts, eggs, if you can afford them. Haggling is a survival skill. One bad purchase, and you don't eat tomorrow. Water is never simple. Public fountains provide cleanish water, but many draw from wells near latrines. Pusca, diluted wine, is a hydration of the masses. It tastes of vinegar and hope. When food runs out, famine isn't far. A bad harvest, delayed shipments, corrupt officials. Suddenly, bread prices triple. Riots erupt. Bakeries are stormed. Warehouses looted. Hunger turns streets into battlegrounds. You survive on scraps. Moldy crusts, stale beans, roadside weeds bark, acorns. Pets vanish. Rats grow clever. Pigeons disappear. You eat what you must. Famine weakens a body, and disease moves in. Plague, fever, and parasites prey on the malnourished. Hunger and illness are relentless companions. Meanwhile, the elite feast. Dormice roasted, honey-glazed songbirds, oysters, figs soaked in wine. They bathe between courses. Bones fall to the floor. Food is performance, not necessity. Even in death, food reflects class. Wealthy tombs depict elaborate feasts, gods pouring wine. The poor? Maybe a scrap of bread or a sip of puska from a grieving family. During festivals like Saturnalia, food becomes communal. Masters serve slaves. Everyone feasts together. But these days are rare, mostly symbolic. For the rest of the year, the lines remain clear. Who eats well and who begs? Food storage is precarious. Clay jars sealed with resin or baskets hung from ceilings deter pests. Preserving involves salting, smoking, drying, or vinegar steeping. Still, everything has a clock. Spoilage waits for no one. Bread molds quickly in the Roman humidity. Olives turn rancid. Meat spoils in the sun. Every meal is a gamble, every bite a risk. Even insects eat well. Grain is stored in granaries, dark, warm, crawling with beetles and moths. If you're lucky, you get your ration before it's infested. If not, well, extra protein. Most people stop picking them out. They're too small to matter. Children grow up with hunger. They learn patience, how to dodge the stick-wielding vendors, where scraps are generous and where they're chased away. Their bellies swell with malnutrition. Parents do what they can. Sometimes steal, sometimes beg, sometimes go without so the youngest can eat. Hunger is routine. Yet even in scarcity, food is culture. Religious cakes are baked. Funeral meals prepared. Solstices marked with ritual dishes. Recipes are passed down. Simple, watery, thin but treasured. Graffiti in Pompeii complains about bad bread, mocks tavern keepers, jokes about watery wine. Food is frustration, joy, survival. To eat Roman is, in some small way, to live Roman. With a cracked bowl of pulse, a crust of bread, and a cup of lukewarm puska, you're not just eating. You're participating in the daily struggle that defines the lower classes of the empire. You eat when you can, pray for the annona, because if it does arrive, your next meal might not. Hunger is patient, but relentless. Religion isn't optional. It's everywhere, embedded in bricks, walls, and schedules. You wake before dawn, and already the gods are watching. The household spirits, the Lars and Penates, guard your hearth and pantry. Neglect them, and stories say misfortune follows. You offer a crumb of bread, a flicker of incense. The gesture counts. Sort of. No food left to burn this morning. Only a crumb of dried bread and a half-hearted thanks. Enough misfortune strung together. You start scrubbing floors, lighting incense, muttering prayers. Belief doesn't matter. Survival does. Outside, the city hums. Hawkers shout from market stalls. Children dart between columns. Smoke rises from small shrines. These aren't decoration, they're altars. Open-faced boxes with flickering lamps, burnt offerings, the scent of sacrificed fat. You pass them on your way to work. Maybe you bow, maybe not. Someone notices either way. The Laras watch your steps. The Penates guard your scant provisions. One misstep, one moment of disrespect, and misfortune feels inevitable. You've seen it enough times. Illness strikes. Fire destroys. Children cry. The city doesn't pause. You adapt or you suffer. And so you march into the city. Jug in hand, basket strapped. Sandals slapping against stone. Sweat already clings to your skin. The air smells of smoke, dung, and vinegar. The gods follow silently. The market calls and the work awaits. Every step is routine, necessary, exhausting. At the forum, the day begins. Laborers wait for work. Children cling to skirts. Merchants call out wares. Hunger gnaws. Water is rationed. The Lara's watch. You bow slightly to the altar in the corner, mutter a quick thanks, and hope it's enough. The empire moves on, indifferent. You survive as best you can, one meal at a time, one prayer at a time, one day at a time. In ancient Rome, this is life. Piety is social currency in Rome. Fail to observe the rites, and your neighbors won't just talk, they might accuse. The gods are always watching, and so are the people. Jupiter rules the skies with thunder and ego. Juno guards marriage, whether it's joyful or miserable. Mars presides over war and masculinity. Vesta keeps Rome's sacred flame burning. A job so crucial her priestesses are chosen as children and punished by death for missteps. One thread of fire, virginity, and political stability binds the world you live in. Religion isn't optional. It's calendarized. Over 100 official festival days a year. Lupercalia, where half-naked men chase women through the streets in the name of fertility. Saturnalia, where slaves and masters switch roles for a day, mocking the social order. Consuelia, Venalia, Robigalia, and more. Festivals for crops, harvest, rain, sun, even mildew. Every force of nature has a name, a temple, and a priest. You can't afford lavish sacrifices. The elite can, and they make sure you know it. Robes soaked in blood, smoke thick in the air, while you clutch a small votive figurine, hoping the gods hear you from afar. Ritual language is Old Latin, barely understandable even to those reciting it. The spectacle is clear. Religion is theater, reinforcing the social hierarchy, reminding everyone of their place. Can you participate? Maybe. Your guild might host a minor ceremony. Maybe you help lead a local deity's procession. Rituals are public communal, but also strategic. They reinforce the order of society, the authority of patrons, the dominance of tradition. Even if lowly, participation grants a fleeting sense of inclusion in something bigger. By the 1st century CE, the Roman world is diverse. Foreign cults seep into the empire's cracks. Whispered tales speak of Isis, an Eastern goddess whose followers were white and chant in hidden rooms. Or Memphis, a Persian sun god, worshipped with secret gatherings and symbolic meals of blood and bread. These religions are sometimes tolerated, sometimes outlawed, and always suspicious. Order is paramount. Secrecy is dangerous. When Christianity begins to spread, authorities don't just worry, they rage. No sacrifices, no visible God, a refusal to honor Jupiter or Caesar. Impious? Yes. Treasonous? Also yes. But for now, it's distant fringe, a strange foreign sect. You likely don't notice it. Your life is already claimed by ancestral gods, community expectations, and tradition's momentum. Superstition is your second skin. Avoid walking under ladders, not for safety, but for luck. A black dog at night, omen of death. A sneeze, say Saul to keep your soul intact. The signs guide you. Birds fly left, bad news. Thunder after dusk, don't travel. Dreams are interpreted. Omens are read. Survival depends on reading the world as much as enduring it. The world constantly communicates in signs. Every flutter, every shadow, every cough may carry meaning. You respond not out of belief, but pragmatism. To ignore these omens is to invite misfortune. To obey is to survive another day. Every action is observed. Bow too little or too late, and the judgment of neighbors falls on you. Religious observance, or at least the appearance of it, is as vital as bread. Fail and misfortune might follow, or worse, accusations. In Rome, your life is measured in both deeds and appearances. The gods are close, the festivals many, the superstitions constant. Your life is framed by these invisible lines of expectation. Tradition isn't gentle. It's a current you cannot escape. You navigate it day by day, meal by meal, prayer by prayer. And as the sun climbs, you leave your insula, jug in hand, altar bowed to, and step into the city's relentless momentum. Religion, superstition, hierarchy, these are the currents that shape your every breath. Omens are everywhere. Even the emperors consult augurs before battles or decisions. Every flutter of wings, every sudden sneeze, Every crack of thunder carries meaning. Your life depends on noticing, interpreting, reacting. You can't afford ignorance. It's not just the living you worry about. The dead are never silent. During the Lemuria, you perform rites to keep restless spirits from haunting your home. Toss black beans over your shoulder at night. Chant the ancient words. Forget and objects vanish. The air sours. Misfortune creeps into every corner. Temples are grand, of course, but your real religion happens in alleyways, kitchens, and bedroom corners. Coins at roadside shrines. Ribbons tied to trees. Amulets around your child's neck. Charms whispered for coughs. A mosaic of a dog, a phallus, both to ward off danger. Life and death hinge on these rituals. Without antibiotics, germ theory, or psychology, the gods are your explanation. Fire started, baby died, grain spoiled, fate or divine displeasure. Maybe you forgot an offering, mispronounced the ritual words, or someone insulted Mercury. Either way, the consequences fall on you. Despite all this, religion gives structure, a rhythm to chaos. Births, marriages, deaths, each marked, prescribed, observed. The genius of the family receives your child. Hands are bound with sacred ribbons. Tombs inscribed so the dead are remembered. To be forgotten is the truest death. You pray, offer, watch, not because the gods are kind, but because they are powerful. Rituals aren't easy, but they are necessary. Divine favor and political favor are nearly the same thing. Neglect a festival and a plague, a flood, or even an earthquake might be blamed on you. Better to act than risk accusation. The day winds down. You pass the shrine of Janus, god of beginnings and endings. You bow, whisper words you barely understand. The gods are everywhere, watching, listening. In Rome, the last thing you want is to attract their attention for the wrong reasons. The sun dips low. Shadows stretch across cobbled streets. The smells of Rome cling heavier in the cool air. Smoke from fires, sewage, olive oil, sweat, all intertwined. You barely notice because survival leaves no room for sensory reflection. Every movement counts. Every misstep might cost you. You are about to learn the true nature of Roman justice. As a plebeian, freedman, or slave, you exist at the bottom of the legal ladder. Law is not abstract. It is a tool of control, written by the elite, enforce to protect property, preserve hierarchy, and make examples of those below. Equal rights? Forget it. The law sees you only as a cog, a nuisance, a body to be punished, a complaint to be dismissed, misfortune, misdeed, even rumor. These are weapons wielded against you. Your pleas rarely matter. The court is theater for the powerful. You exist here to endure, to obey, to survive under the gaze of. Justice in ancient Rome is transactional. Wealth and connections determine the outcome. A single accusation, real or imagined, can topple your life. The law is a weapon, and if you lack power, it is pointed squarely at your neck. Maybe a fellow vendor accuses you of shortchanging him. Maybe a loaf of bread goes missing. That's enough. You are hauled in. Proof falls on you, not your accuser. For slaves, guilt is irrelevant. Pain extracts a confession. Torture is legal. It's expected. Whips, branding irons, racks. Persuasion for those considered dishonorable. Sometimes, all slaves in a household are punished to locate the true culprit. Innocence doesn't matter. Even as a citizen, justice favors wealth. Lawyers work for favors or political gain. Judges are elite, bribery common. Evidence secondary. Trials drag. Verdicts reflect status more than truth. Punishments are brutal, public, humiliating. Flogging, exile, execution, scaled by social rank. Citizens might go quietly into exile. Plebeians face chains, lashes, or worse. Execution is spectacle, a warning to all. Beheading is merciful, reserved for citizens. Crucifixion? Slow, agonizing, public. Nails, whips, and exposure to the elements. Birds and vermin arrive before death ends. Rome treats execution as theater, not mercy. Petty theft? Scourge in public. Repeat offenses? Sold into slavery. Debt is dangerous. Failure to repay allows creditors to seize your body, imprison you, or sell you. The system keeps the lower classes straining, always vulnerable. Justice happens in public. Forum, basilica, market. Crowds gather. Cheer, jeer. Law is civic theater, a blood sport, a spectacle blending order and entertainment. You are on display as both lesson and warning. Women have little protection. Husbands can kill adulterous wives. Fathers can execute children under patria potestas. Domestic abuse is a family matter. Religion offers no shield. Impiety is punishable, public, and swift. Church and state are intertwined. Prisons are holding pens. Temporary, overcrowded, filthy. The Talenum, infamous underground dungeon. Few leave alive. Innocence is irrelevant. Accusation alone can lead to ruin, injury, or death. Witnesses are bribable. Life unravels fast. Testimony can be coerced. Evidence, when it exists, is often little more than rumor wrapped in a toga. Rome sees itself as a pinnacle of civilization. But for you, justice is selective and brutal. The 12 tables, emperor-led reforms, appeals, they exist. In theory, trials are standardized. Protections are written into law. But reforms don't reach peasants, tradesmen, former slaves, women without dowries, or children without fathers. What can you do? Stay invisible. Keep your head down. Avoid debt, conflict, and whispers that can ruin you. Justice in Rome favors power, not fairness. By now, you've endured sewage in your stew, lice-infested bedding, labor under a scorching sun. Rome is harsh and life is fleeting. Even surviving the day only delays the inevitable. Death came early, often suddenly, for the Roman poor. Life expectancy hovered around 25 to 30 years, skewed by high infant mortality. Minor fevers, cuts, or infections could be fatal. Medicine is centuries away. If you don't die violently, you might waste away. No hospitals, no nurses. Relatives might comfort you or not. Days later, your body could be found stiff, decayed, rats already at work. If you're a slave, your body is dumped in a mass grave, a peticuli. No ceremony, no headstone, no prayer. Efficiency at its most callous. Hundreds of corpses, covered with lime, forgotten. If you're free, your family may afford a burial club, a collegium, pooling resources for a minimal funeral. Cremation or burial is modest. Ceremony is brief. Respect exists, but barely. In life, the poor toil and suffer. In death, anonymity awaits. The elite feast and are remembered. You vanish quietly, leaving only memories or the faint scent of lime. Tomorrow, you wait to survive another day. Death waits, but the city moves on. The empire thrives on the labor of the nameless, the exploited, the invisible. Life is short, brutal, and unforgiving, but it continues. The afterlife isn't paradise for the poor. It's a dim, restless continuation. Souls wander hungry and vengeful unless appeased. Food, drink, ritual, these are luxuries you can't afford. Your shade may drift forever, unnoticed, unfed. The wealthy have mausoleums, urns, inscriptions, and poetry. Their names echo for generations. You, maybe not even a full name recorded. Death erases you quietly, and society barely notices. Execution adds cruelty. Treason, sacrilege, dissent, bodies denied burial. Some suffer damno memoriae, condemned in memory as well as flesh. You died twice, once in life, once in history. You've lived a day as a nobody. Spoiled lentils, chamber pots, rats, sweat, sun, exhaustion. Your death, statistically expected, is quiet and unrecorded. Pause. You're likely in a warm bed, medicine nearby, water and food safe. Teeth brushed, devices in hand. You're not surviving, you're living. But the Roman peasant you embodied matters. Millions of them mattered. Their backs built aqueducts, temples, roads. Their voices echoed in forums. Their bones literally paved the empire. They bore weight silently, without recognition, without memorials. History forgets the poor. Marble busts remember emperors, generals, poets. Beneath it all were men and women who never wrote a line, never saw their likeness carved. Yet they built civilization. For one night, one quiet moment, you lived their life. Straw under your back, Cold air and cracks, hunger's weight, the absurdity of survival. You didn't last a day, truly, but you came closer than most ever will. Maybe you carry something forward. Not guilt, not pity, but perspective. Clean water, hot food, a bed, a toothbrush, medicine, a toilet. They're miracles stacked atop centuries of struggle. As the screen fades, whisper thanks to the countless peasants who built this world silently. They are why you're not one. Remember them, honor them, and let their quiet resilience remind you that every comfort you enjoy has a story, a struggle, and a life behind it.